Welcome everybody to another episode of the Lodgz Podcast. This is episode 28. This is a special episode today. We're doing this live, so if you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys for tuning on there. And if you're listening through audio like typical, appreciate you guys joining us as well. Derek, we're just gonna hop into it. Usually, we're over Skype and it takes a second, but first off, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. This is exciting for me to be in Miami doing this. We haven't done a live show yet, so usually it's over Skype, over the phone. So you're kind of the first in life episode. So it's gonna be exciting. But I just thought we'd start off. A good place always is just to hear your background story, where you've come from, where you were raised. I thought that'd be cool to jump into.
Cool. So I'm from Houston, Texas. I did 8 years in the Army, 6 years active, 2 years reserves. Deployed twice, once to Taji, Iraq, other time to Kandahar, Afghanistan. Hardest times of my life, really, because it's not something that you're used to. It's a whole nother world. I think that the first time that I got to Iraq, I was on the phone with my daughter, Skype with my daughter and her mom, and just randomly just having a conversation. I had just got there maybe 2 days, and boom, out of nowhere, the camp got hit, and the power went out, and I'm like, oh my God, I am not supposed to be here. And I joined the Army to give a better life for my daughter, because I wanted her to have stuff that I didn't have growing up. So I joined. Then I also got out for my daughter. My daughter was at 3 or 4 at the time. I was getting ready to go to Afghanistan, and me and her mom had separated at the time, and so she. I was here in Tampa. I was down in Tampa and visiting her. And they dropped me off at the airport, and she goes, my daughter's like 3 or 4. She goes, Dad, I don't want you to die. I'm like, what? Wow. I'm like, that's heavy. That's heavy for somebody that age. And she goes, anytime I see somebody on TV that's in the Army, they die, and I don't want you to die. And at that moment right there, all bets were off. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I know that this was going to be my last time going overseas. Yeah. I didn't realize at the time. I think I did 9 months in Afghanistan. 9 months was over, came back, went through the process of getting out, and just moved back to Houston. No plan, no nothing. I had no idea what I was going to do. I started going back to school for marketing, and at that point, it still was I don't really want to do this, but, I'm good at this type of stuff, so I'm just going to go through it. Right. And I just started when I was deployed. I started playing 2K and stuff like that, and so, but I didn't think none of it. Mm-hmm. When I got back home and started going to school, I wasn't working, just going to school, using my GI Bill, getting paid to go to school, and so that was my income at the time, just going to school, and I started playing 2K more. Around this time, I realized that it was just no structure as far as 2K was going, as far as the best players that play the game. Right. You didn't really know who their best player was. So I tried to create something and create a voice for everybody. That's when Famous Enough came along. The whole slogan was basically, you're famous enough, just being yourself, just be you or whatever, something of the sort like that. And so October 2016 is when I made the Twitter for it. 0 followers, no nothing.
It was you Famous Enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a player. I was a player, and I was going by Russ Snow at the time, but I didn't want people to follow this Famous Enough based on knowing me previously. So I just created this whole new persona when it came to that. That persona just kind of everybody just wanted to know who was this person, who was this, and the third. So basically what I would do is I would just go into Twitch streams and watch the games as they're going along. Mm-hmm. And after the games were over, I would screenshot the box score, and I'll post it on Twitter and be like, this player scored this many points, yada, yada, something of the sort. This was in 2016. So
was this the first year of the 2K League?
No, it wasn't even thought about at the time. Okay. So that's what makes this so cool, right? I created this lane with no end game. There was nothing to say, oh, you're going to do this with this, you're going to do this with this. It was just out of nowhere. So as I grew, as the Twitter grew and more people started to follow, I just started doing YouTube from it. Start creating YouTube video, and that's when I started creating basically Pro-Am Sports Center videos. Okay. It was a whole Sports Center layout for the videos, and that at that point, that's when players were like, I have to make Sports Center. So now it's picking up right now. Now this traction gaining on it, but still, there's still no end game for me. So I don't know
You're just in the space, kind
yeah,
of.
I'm like at this point, I moved from Houston to Indiana because I wanted to go to school. I wanted my master's to be in analytics. So IU is one of the best schools for analytics. So I said, let me go ahead and make this transition now while I was still in school for marketing. I was just wanted to be a in-state resident.
Right.
To after, you know.
And where were you attending university at?
When I was in Houston, I was attending school at Texas Southern University.
Okay.
And so then I moved to Fort Wayne, and I started going to IPFW.
Okay.
From there, I was going to go from IPFW to IU for my master's program, but I didn't make it to that point because stuff started happening.
Okay.
Stuff started happening fast.
Yeah.
So as I moved to IPFW, I moved to Indiana. I get a job at the airport. I'm doing like fueling at the airport or something like that. I'm going to school for marketing, but now I'm also doing this famous enough thing. This famous enough thing probably take up more time than anything. It's taking up a lot of time, and still no 2K League is announced or nothing like that. I'm growing on YouTube, getting bigger and bigger. My following on Twitter is getting huge, and it's starting to take off. It's starting to take off.
Yeah.
But February, I think on February, the month of February, my girlfriend at the time, my birthday was coming up. She said, this was February 2017.
Okay.
She says, let's take a trip for your birthday. She books us this trip to New York. I had never been to New York. We were there for a whole week, and she's like, the only rule is you can't be on your phone. Now, at this time, I have probably 7,000 followers or something like that on Twitter. Yeah. And I'm like, this is who I am. My
That's
phone,
big for you, yeah, because you're focused on that. So
my phone is like just in a third. So
yeah.
The day of my birthday, actually, she said I can check my phone at nighttime when we finish with our things we were out in the city doing.
Yeah.
So I check my phone at night. It's probably like 11:50 or something. I'm going through tweets and everything, yada yada and third. As soon as midnight hits, boom, out of nowhere, SportsCenter, ESPN reports that the NBA and the 2K and NBA 2K have created this 2K league, and it's chaos. It's complete chaos on Twitter, and everybody's going crazy. Like, what is this? What is this thing? What is this? And still, I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because I'm growing at this rate. I don't know anything about this thing.
Right.
So, just around May or so comes around, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should try to get a job in this thing. I know a lot about 2K. I know a lot about these players. I have a lot of data on these players. I know their tendencies. I know everything about these players because I'm one of the ones that watch them probably 14, 15 hours a day.
Because up until that point, you're really kind of like an analysis, basically, like you will be if you're watching SportsCenter and watching LeBron or Wade or whoever, and break that down. And
exactly. And I created like rankings and everything on the players. I had all this. I had all this stuff that I didn't know I would need. I didn't know I would need it because 2K League wasn't a thing. But I had this stuff available to me that I was going to create content with. But when the 2K League got announced, I said, let me hold on to it. So May comes around. I think in June comes around, and the Kings put out a hiring thing for Sacramento Kings put out a hiring for esports general manager or whatever. I'm like, I could do that.
Right.
So I try to think of creative ways to get their attention. So I'm at work one day, and I'm like just thinking around. I'm like, okay, I got it. So I go home. I apply for the job. After I apply for the job, Andy Miller, one of the co-owners of the Kings, he's big in esports. He's a part owner of NRG, and he's big on Twitter as well.
Right.
So after I applied for it, I basically tag him on a tweet, and I'm like, hey, everybody, go tell Andy Miller and the Kings to hire me.
To get that flood of tweets and try to get you some exposure. Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. He ended up getting flooded with tweets and everything, and probably like after like 10 or 20 minutes after I posted that, he randomly DMs me. He wasn't following me. He started following me on Twitter, and then he DMs me. He said, wow, you're pretty popular. He said, I'm going to have somebody contact you. And like 3 minutes after he sends me that, somebody from the Kings on a burner account basically hits me up and was like, what's your name? And we're going to pull your resume and have a look at it. And he wants us to take a look at and see what you have. So August comes around. I interview with them. Yeah. And I think it went well. Andy Miller, he DMs me. He says, good job, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I do a second interview with them after that. And then after the second interview, I get a email basically rejecting me.
You didn't get it.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And the thing with that they said is that, they wanted somebody who understood sponsorships and all that. And I'm like, I don't
You're
have
more
a
on the
clue
marketing
about that.
side. Yeah.
So when they asked me this question in an interview, I framed it as, I'm new to this scene, but with the help of the Kings, I think we'll be able to grab sponsorships, yada yada third, which I thought was a great answer. But all in all, it didn't work out. And at the time, I'm like super depressed. I'm like, maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe this isn't for me. And this was around September or so. And I think about quitting everything. I want to quit Twitter. I want to quit YouTube. And my girlfriend said something like, why would you build a frame for a house and then walk out of it when it's almost done? At the time, I'm like, what? And,
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. Okay, you're trying to cheer me up. And then a few weeks later, I was like, oh, I get what she's saying. She said, you did all this to get here. Why quit now, basically? And so I just continue. I get back on YouTube and stuff and continue that way or whatever.
And on YouTube, are you just creating like breakdown videos or kind of what was that content that you're putting out on YouTube?
It's just like SportsCenter.
Okay.
So I watch a game. I watch a couple games that night, and I would just take some clips from the games and just put them on SportsCenter and talk over the clips and say, this is what happened here, blah, blah, blah. Then I post the box score at the end or something like that.
Right.
So it was super, it was creative at the time.
Right.
It was super interesting for the players because it wasn't something that they had at the time.
Right.
So December come around, the Heat posts, a hiring thing. I applied to it, and I don't think nothing about it.
You're in Houston still at this point?
I'm still in Indiana.
Or Indiana.
I'm still in Indiana,
Okay.
and I don't think nothing about it. And after I applied for the Heat job, then Brandon Donahue, which is like the managing director of the NBA 2K League, he messages me. He's like, "Hey, Famous, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a player or do you want to be on the business side?" Because at the time I was still playing and I was still really good at the game. And I just told him I want to be on the business side because I think it's more beneficial to me to be on this side because I know more about the players.
Right.
And so he asked me for my resume and cover letter. I sent it to him and a couple more other teams. I applied for a couple other jobs for teams and decline, type of thing. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Then randomly one day in January, Ben Spoon, the owner of the Misfits, he DM'd me and he's like, we need to talk. That's what the DM says.
That's what the DM said.
DM just says we need to talk. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, what's going on? And he said, what's your email? No, he says email me your resume. So I send him my resume and my cover letter, and I don't hear nothing from him. And I'm like 5-10 minutes past, and I said, okay, I sent it to you, and it says read at the bottom. That's it. No response after that. I'm like, okay, this guy's weird.
Of the DM, the tweet DM. Okay.
The DM just said,
and you got left on red, and you're like, great.
I'm like, this guy's weird,
Right,
so
right.
I go to work the next day, and I come home. I got off work at 2:00. About 2:45, my phone rings. I answer it, and it's Ben Spoon.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I wasn't prepared for this, but
he just hits you up, yeah,
randomly.
Yeah.
So we having this conversation, and this conversation doesn't feel like an interview. It feels like I'm just talking to my friend.
Right.
This is my first time ever talking to this guy.
Yeah.
And he's just saying all kind of stuff just out of the blue and just random. I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is going, but this is whatever.
Yeah.
And then he asked me what other teams are you talking to? And I tell him it's about 3 other teams that I'm talking to. The crazy part about this is that in the middle of this phone interview with Ben, I get a rejection email in the middle of this interview, and I'm like, this is crazy.
From just another 2K
team, yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so Ben's like, I tell him what other teams I'm talking to. He said, He said, well, I'm going to try to get you on the phone with an executive from the Miami Heat later this week. So the next day while I'm at work, I think about 9 a.m., I get an email from the Miami Heat, from somebody from the Miami Heat, and they said, would you be able to talk today? And I'm like, yeah. And they asked me what time. I give them a time, and I get home probably like at 3 o'clock. They called me, and it's about 7 people. I can hear like 7 different voices on the phone or whatever. Wow. So at this point, I'm pretty shook because this person that I'm talking to is the executive VP of marketing, Michael McCullough. And Michael McCullough is at the time I had no clue who he was, but they mentioned his name in the email, so I looked him up. I'm like, this guy has done a lot. This is a big deal right now. This is a big deal.
Right.
So, and while I'm talking to him, I'm like super nervous. My heart is like beating out of my chest. And at the end of the phone call, he tells me, you know, we really like you, and we're gonna keep in touch with you, whatever. So I've heard that keep in touch thing from teams before, and that's basically we'll get back with you in a month. Yeah, right. That's the time frame. Each call is usually like a month.
Right.
But so far with the Heat, it's been 2 phone calls in 2 days. So Wednesday, this was Monday, Tuesday. Then Wednesday goes by, I don't hear nothing. Then Thursday morning, the same person from the Heat emailed me at 9 o'clock again. She's like, will you be able to talk later today? I'm like, yeah, I'll be able to talk at the same time. They called me back. It's Michael McCullough, and he's like, we want to offer you the job. So I talked to them 3 times in 4 days, and they offered me the job over the phone. They was like, we don't normally do this. We like to bring people out, and we want to meet them in person to see how it is, but we can't fumble this with you right now, and we want to make sure that we get you before anybody else do. Mind blown at the time. Like,
It makes you feel very wanted, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the crazy part about it, after I think last year or so, I asked my boss, I was like, Lauren, when did you guys start tracking me? She said, oh, we started tracking you right after August when the Kings passed you up. I was like, so y'all waited that long to hit me up, you know, type of thing. And so
right.
it was a crazy experience. They flew me out January 23rd. I flew out to Miami. And January 23rd of 2018, flew out to Miami, and they filmed a short video of, you know, me announcing what team that I'm going to and stuff like that.
Right.
And they had me stand at the Malia right downtown. I was
right.
like, this is crazy. They took me shopping and all this crazy stuff, and mine just blown. Like, my mind is just totally blown about everything that's going on. And February the 20th, I went back home like 2 days after that. January the 25th, I went back home. February the 20th, I moved out to Miami permanently and drafted a team a month later. We went all the way to
you had a quick turnaround then once you got down here.
Yeah,
you basically had to get ready for the draft at that point.
But see, that was the good thing about me being ready, though. I had all the player rankings and stuff ready already.
Right,
and
super prepared.
I was super prepared to it. And so the turnaround didn't scare me. The turnaround might scare some people. That is super short. You don't know what's next because you kept in the dark about a lot of things until it's close to that time.
Right.
So if you're not ready, then it's like, you know. But I was already ready, you know, drafted a team, went all the way to the finals, and you know, now I'm sitting here.
So you guys went to the finals that first year then?
Yeah.
And so let's break that down. The draft, because obviously a lot of people hear about it, maybe others are new to it. What is that experience like traditionally, maybe compared traditionally to seeing an NBA draft? Is it pretty much the same, or kind of what was your experience with that?
Draft is eerily the same as the NBA draft, but you know, with this being esports, a draft usually doesn't happen. You know,
right? Regular
esports, they just buy their teams, or I want you.
They're just on social media. Yeah. They might see rankings. They might just pull them and DM them. Yeah,
this is different. This is a league that's sponsored by the NBA. So our model is exactly the same as the NBA. You know, you can like a player all you want to, but if you're not able to draft them, then you know, that's tough luck, and that's just how it is. But draft was crazy. Red carpet, you know, all type of media, camera flashes everywhere you go.
So it's a big deal. It's a big event. It's fun. They hype it up then while you're there.
First year was actually at Madison Square Garden. Year one was at Madison Square Garden. It was on the NBA TV. The first round was on NBA TV, and last year was at Barclays. So it's just a crazy thing for kids that's just playing video games. You know, that's all we do is play video games, and we getting this star treatment right out the gate. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to talk on this because I thought it was interesting. You talk about your experience with the Heat. I'm a very passionate Miami Heat fan. I've been a huge Miami Heat fan for a while, and I think if you follow, it's a well-respected organization, franchise in the NBA, and classy, high-level executives and all that. Do you think that has bled into what they're trying to do with 2K and how they're bringing people on? Do you think that's blends into you guys?
That word culture that the Heat throws around, it's not to be taken lightly.
Yeah,
it's not to be taken lightly. Everything is about the culture of the Heat. Everything's going to be resonated back to the Miami Heat way. You know, Miami, you're going to see so many teams. I think one thing Michael McCullough tells like the new players when they come in is like, you're going to see a lot of teams do a lot of different things. Don't expect that from the Heat. And it can mean anything.
Yeah.
It can mean a number of things. It's just how you're going to take it. Just take his wording for that, because he means exactly that. But this organization is one of those organizations that has done so much for me. They've flown my daughter out here twice to surprise me twice.
I saw that video. Yeah.
They flown my mom and my stepdad out here to surprise me. On the center court of a Miami Heat game, I got to meet Pat Riley.
What was that like? I mean, talk about meeting an NBA legend.
So like it was the same time that they flew my mom and my stepdad out to surprise me, and they're like, okay, follow us. So we're walking off the court, and I'm just thinking, this is it. They surprised me with my mom and dad, and all of a sudden I see this figure just over there, just waiting for me, and he's like, hey, famous. I'm like, the only word
Pat Riley.
only word I can get out was, "You're Pat Riley. You're Pat Riley." And I just said, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." He was like, "And you're famous enough." I was like, "You know me, like type of thing,
Right,
and,
right.
And he tells me all about the season we just had, and I'm like, "This is crazy. This is crazy." And he tells me like, "You're always gonna remember the ones you lost, the finals you lost, but keep that in mind because there's gonna be a lot more to win." And that came from Pat Riley to me.
To you, yeah.
And I'm just here playing video games. I'm just here coaching people that play video games.
Right.
Crazy, crazy feeling.
Yeah. No, I mean, you talk about a godfather of not only the Miami Heat, but really of the league in general. I'm sure that had to be humbling to you to hear that from him.
He told me I was legendary. Pat Riley
That's crazy.
told me I was legendary.
That's crazy.
If you go on Twitter and you go into the gifts and you search famous enough, it's gonna be a Pat Riley gift pop up with me that says you're Pat Riley, and it says you're legendary. He's literally mouthing you're legendary to me. It was a crazy feeling.
That's crazy. And then so you go to the finals the first year. Who you guys playing? I don't know if you want to chat on that for a second. What your experience was like, how the series ended.
So we played against the Knicks, and first off, I didn't know. I don't think I realized how big of a deal the finals was going to be, as far as media coverage was going to be. But it was insane. It was insane. It was more media coverage that I've ever seen. It was more media coverage there for the finals than it had been for like the draft. So it was super insane. And
it was held. The finals were held where?
At the NBA 2K League studio that was located in Long Island City. Okay. And so it was a crazy feeling. It was humbling, of course. We ended up losing the series by a total of 6 points. Wow. We lost the series by a total of 6 points. So it was. I think it was heartbreaking. I think it was heartbreaking for the simple fact. I don't think you realize how difficult it is to lose a finals until you actually do it, and you have to see the other team celebrate. Right. And confetti's falling on you while you're trying to walk off or whatever, and it's like we really just lost this. Yeah. And the toughest part is getting back. Right. Right. It seems so easy during that season to get there, but after that season is over, you're like, how I'm going to get back to this? It's super hard. Super hard. So the Knicks won, which was a crazy story for them as well. I'm somebody that's a fan of the league, so. Even though we lost, I was like, oh, my God, we could have lost to a better team, better story that they had. They had a crazy story, and definitely respect their story as well. Yeah.
And so as GM and head coach of the Heat, they bring you in, what roles and responsibilities do you have, which I'm sure is a lot, but, if you could break that down for us.
The funny thing is when they brought me in first, at first my title was esports coordinator. Okay. And so after the first week or so, they was like, we're changing your title. I was like, okay. It's like, we're going to change it to GM and coach. I said, okay, cool. And when I first got there, I told them, I said, so you guys want me to do all this stuff right here, and all I know is 2K. And that's my exact words. I said, all I know is 2K. All the stuff you guys want me to do, I'm going to need help. They said, oh, no problem. We got you. So it was a learning process for me as far as understanding like everything that I had to do day to day. We traveled every week during the summer. Every single week we travel during the summer. So I'm talking about booking flights and booking hotels and make sure that these guys are at their obligations. Right. It's more than just playing 2K. Playing 2K is the easy part. Right. We have to film content. We have to. When it comes to esports, content is king. Right. So you can be good at the game, but nobody knows you if you don't do content.
Yeah, you're gonna build the culture. You're not gonna build the fan base. Right.
Exactly. So I have to make sure these guys are always in the right place at the right time. And I tell, anytime somebody asks me, what's the difference? What's the biggest struggles between being a GM and a coach? Being a GM, I got to think long term. Being a coach, I got to think now.
Right.
So I got to worry about this team right now when I'm coaching. But being a GM, I got to think about a couple years down the road to make sure that the team that I'm putting together is going to be able to withstand the time. But I can win right now with this team.
Right.
But it's a team for later. That's the GM part of it.
Right.
So it's a lot. It's a lot. I got to deal with apparel, which is a nightmare. Dealing with apparel orders is a nightmare. You got to order enough apparel for. What if you trade somebody? What if you trade 3 people? What if you trade everybody?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you have all that stuff intact for new people that come in as well.
Right.
So it's a bunch of computers. Computers is a nightmare as well. You got to order computers. You got to make sure that these guys have the right controllers. Which players are picky. These players are picky. Some players want Xbox controllers. Some players want PS4 controllers. Some players want particular brand of controllers. So all this stuff is part of just being a GM, of like making sure that these players are comfortable. At the end of the day, their success is going to help my success as well.
Right. And so for right now, is it just you then? Do you have anyone else that's not on the player base that's helping you with all this other stuff?
This is the cool thing about the Heat. Anything that I don't know or I can't do, I tell them. And they like, okay, we'll take you. So for season one, even though I was a GM and a coach, for season 1, a lot of the GM duties it was like split up between different Heat staff that they took care of, and they was like, we're gonna show you how to do this. We're gonna show you how to do this. Season 2, they gave me a little bit more reign. They said, okay, Famous, you need to do this, and the third. Season 3 is starting right now, and they said, here, just go. You're on your own now. And at this point, I'm like, I understand everything at this point. And I think I couldn't have came to a better team. I think this was the perfect fit for me as far as being able to learn on the fly, being able for them to have patience with me, being able to teach me all these different things.
Right. And so, and we were chatting earlier. We had the opportunity to meet this morning. How have you enjoyed Miami? You come from Houston and Indiana, and you come down here in Miami. So you've been here about 2 years now, then, right? So how have you enjoyed that experience?
So Miami's so different than anywhere I've ever lived at. But even though I lived in Houston, which is a big city, when I lived in Houston, I was a gamer.
Right.
So all I did was game. All I did was stay in. When I moved to when I got in the Army, I was living in Kansas. After the Army, went back to Houston for about 6 months, about a year, I think. I was home for a year. Then I moved to Indiana I was in Indiana for 3 years. So we're looking at it like, I'm as an adult, I'm used to everything being so slow because living in Kansas and Indiana.
Right.
And I moved to Miami, and I'm like, I'm just looking around everything like this is crazy. This is a crazy place. First time I ever been to Miami was when Miami Heat flew me down.
So it was a bit of a culture shock then, from what you were used to.
Culture shock.
Yeah.
And when I moved down here, I think when I moved down here is when I realized how big my name was getting. I was walking from Brickell. I was in Brickell, and I was heading towards the arena. And as I'm walking, random guy just, hey, Famous Enough. I'm like, what the hell? I look around, and I'm like, this guy, I see a guy running, and he's waving or whatever, and then the guy gets on the bus, and I immediately go to Twitter. I'm like, whoever that just saw me in Brickell and Miami, I think I said downtown Miami because I couldn't tell the difference when I first moved here.
Right, what was what?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoever just did that, I appreciate you or whatever. And then this guy, he said, that was me. I was running to catch the bus, yada, yada, and third. And I was like, that's crazy. So this past year, this past summer that just passed, during one of our bye weeks, I had my daughter for a week, for 4th of July week, and we're in Target. And we like going down like a toy aisle or something, and she's looking for some toys or something. And this guy passes us, and then he comes back, and he's like, Famous Enough? And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And my daughter's just staring at us, and he's like, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, yada, yada, and third. And as soon as he leaves, my daughter was 11 at the time. As soon as he leaves, my daughter's like, Dad, who was that? I said, it's just some people that knows Daddy from his work or whatever. She was like, yeah, but that's weird. And I was like, yeah, this is how it is sometimes. But Miami's so different. I love it here.
Right.
I'm still a homebody. I'm still
I remember you telling me that this morning. Right.
I'm still a super homebody. just to be somewhere that's super cultural, that one day I can eat this, one day I can eat that. One day, if I want to see different parts of something, I can just go to this side of town, this side of town. I love it. Only thing I don't like is traffic.
Right.
That's the only thing I don't like. But I love it here. I do like slow, but I love it here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so when you come to the Heat, you're doing all this, you're beginning to jump into your roles. Do you continue the YouTube content with breaking down games and player analysis, or did that kind of obviously get put to the side, or what would that look like?
So when it happened, when I first got here, I immediately stopped doing like YouTube and stopped doing the player analysis and stuff like that. And I was like, after like a year or so, I was like, why did I stop? I know I like, I'm a people person. I'm also a player person, and I don't want to lose focus of why I started doing it, why I started doing the Famous Enough thing, which was for the players. That was the reason I started, and it shouldn't have stopped because I got this job. It was still other ways I could have helped promote players that wasn't in the league or something of the sort. Yeah. And so when I got in, I stopped doing YouTube for 2 years, and that hurt me as my personal growth and my personal brand could have got bigger if I kept going. Right. But at the time in my mind, I was like, I'd be giving away too much information to other teams, yada yada and third. And then I talked with the Heat after this past season that just happened, and I told them, like, I kind of want to get back into this, yada yada. And it was like, yeah, that's fine, but always think about integrity. If you're going to talk about players, make sure you're giving the right information and this, that, and the third. I was like, of course, that's what I want to do. I still want to give players a chance, give players a voice that don't have a voice, even though I'm in a role that I'm in right now. Right.
No, you have a bigger spotlight on you now. Yeah. Obviously, as your brands continue to grow. No, that's interesting. And so how has it been? We were chatting before we went live here for a second, and you said that you grew up playing basketball, traditional sport on the court. Or if you want to talk on those experiences a little bit, and now as a coach, how does that, go into coaching a 2K team, which is the video game version? How do those blend? So
it's so crazy because I played varsity basketball all 4 years of high school. Well, I'm going to say 3 years because first 2 years I was playing decent. I was coming off the bench, and then right when it's time for me to start or whatever, in my junior year, I broke my ankle. And broke my ankle wearing like some N1 slip-ons or something. Those
N1, yeah, that's a throwback.
Some N1 slip-ons or something. And I broke my ankle right before the season started, so I think I only played like 3 games at the end of the season or something like that. And my senior year, I was starting then, and I played power forward back then. We was a small team, but it was a decent team. We ended up getting kicked out of our district because it was a fight happened on a game or something of this way. They kicked us out of the district. So we was basically playing games for fun at that point. These are free games for everybody. Right. But yeah, so when it comes to like 2K and basketball, the concepts will always be the same. But these players that are playing 2K, a lot of them don't know like basketball concepts, and you kind of got to teach it to them. If I say pistol 21, they don't know that. So I got to say overload or something. Okay. Their minds are set on particular wordage compared to traditional basketball. You just got to find the right fit, the right words to let them know. I can't constantly say pistol 21, but if I say overload, then they automatically know exactly what I'm talking about. Right. So that's the route I've taken the last 2 years of just simplifying the game for them. Yeah. A lot of them know basketball, but like I said, the concepts and the terminology is different for 2K players to traditional basketball.
Right. Do you find that a lot of them had grown up playing basketball? And because for me, when I was in high school, played a lot, obviously at the high school level, and I played a lot of AAU travel ball. 2K was huge then because, especially if you went for a tournament for a weekend, you play a bunch of games that night. Someone's got their Xbox or their PlayStation, and you play. So did you find that a lot of players have come from backgrounds like that, or they just had hopped into the 2K game and they were good at it?
What's funny is that it's probably only like in the 2K league, it's probably only like 10 out of the 100 plus that actually play basketball.
Interesting. Okay.
So a lot of these guys, they just good at the game. They're just good at the game. And we always talk about we was talking about it earlier, why would people watch this type of thing? But it's the same concept. You watch regular basketball. Right. But you watch regular basketball because those players are the best at what they do. you will watch esports for the same reason. These players are the best at what they do, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I could beat them." No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. It's a big difference, and that thin line is always going to be there for when it comes to a traditional sport having an esport like the NBA 2K League. People are going to think they're better than a lot of these players, but they're really not. And, and we would be glad to prove that they're not.
Yeah. have a local tournament, let people come in. And,
exactly.
I mean, I'm sure you might have a few people that are good, but I don't think the majority. Yeah. No, that's interesting. And then so on the player base, did you ever want to play as a player in the league? I know you had talked about that a little bit earlier, how you wanted to take the business side of it. Did you just not have as much of a passion or desire to be competitive and be the player, or kind of what made you make that decision?
So back when I made came up with Famous Enough, and I was taking like 14, 15 hours a day doing this thing, and then I would try to play the game at nighttime. My girlfriend was like, She was like, you need to choose one. It's one or the other. You're either gonna do the Famous Enough thing, or you're gonna play. You're not gonna do both of them.
Right.
So I chose the Famous Enough thing. So I play every once in a while, and I still can play the game. But when it comes to like the pro players that are in the league, I'm definitely not better than them. Definitely not better than them. If I would have kept playing, that's a different story. But at this point, I know for a fact I'm not better than them. I've had to scrimmage some of these step in on scrimmages and play for one of my guys a couple times. And I do good some games. Then other games, like, I'm on the right side of the fence.
Right. No, and it's funny because a lot of people hear that, right? If you're new to esports or if you're hearing about it, a lot of people, a lot of parents specifically, they're growing up watching, or they're raising their children, watching them play, other people play video games, they don't understand it. I think that's the best analogy is, why do you watch the NBA?
Yeah.
Why do you watch golf? Why do you watch football? And so did you guys do anything to try to address that or help that conversation? Is there any like content that you guys put out to help that conversation, or?
It's a healthy conversation. It is a healthy conversation. There's this thing. A lot of players, NBA players, they play 2K, and you might find them streaming or playing with some of our guys every once in a while because they want to play with the best players. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, the best players are going to be in this league, in our league. The best players are going to be in the league. When it comes to conversation about watching it, like that traditional sports, I don't think that's going to ever go away for these traditional fans. Or, we get mocked all the time about, oh my God, because like the NBA will, the NBA Twitter will put something out about our league or something. We might get mocked here and there, but we know that what we're doing, we're professionals at what we do. That we are the best at what we do, and we also know that we're not going to step in the NBA players' lane and get on the court because obviously they're going to beat us. Right.
It's two separate.
Exactly. So it's we just try to keep our cool about it when we get mocked, because those same fans, they don't do that to NBA players. They just do it to us because they're nerds, this, that, and the third. That type of conversation. But we're here to educate. We're here to show you that we are the best at what we do. We're here to do all that. Yeah. And another thing is, you mentioned the parents. Right. I always tell parents that there's more jobs in esports than just playing. Yes. And so like we do a lot of events at schools and stuff like that, and some parents are there, and I tell every kid, stay in school. I mean, you'll always have the time to play the game, but the school is going to come first. But I also want parents to know that I'm a GM. Right. I'm a coach. Right. The person that's filming this is a videographer. Right. This person over here is a photographer. This person right here got to edit it. This person right here got to hook up the broadcast. There's a million jobs in esports, and if your kids just love playing, they might be playing for that goal. They might not just be playing to play the game to become a pro at that. They may be playing for the other goal of being on the other side of it, which is a very lucrative job as well. Yeah, no, I'm super glad that you're bringing this up because this is something that I try to hit on. We actually were speaking 2 weekends ago in Tampa, and it was for the local community to kind of educate them, and this topic came up. And esports has obviously been around for a couple years now, or for a while. You can date it back however far you want to based on certain things, but
everyone, I think now kids are growing up thinking they have to be the professional player or they have to go competitive. And the parents then are understanding, oh, they have to be the best of the best. But like you're saying, to your point, you could be a photographer that grows up, loves playing video games, and then goes into the photography and esports scene, which is really no different than growing up with a passion for the NFL, professional football. You might not play as a player, but you're going to go in there, you're going to be a photographer for the league, and you still get to have both passions, right?
Yeah.
So
I always go back to Ninja. Ninja doesn't handle his day-to-day. His wife handles his day-to-day.
Right.
That's his manager. His wife actually manages his career, and it goes under the radar. So this couple is a power couple that has secured millions and millions of dollars, and his wife don't play the game. His wife just takes care of everything else.
Yeah.
And it's so many careers in this, man. It's so many careers, and there's so many careers that haven't even been made yet that's going to be coming out. So it's all about the person.
Right. And so you mentioned, this two separates. You have the 2K League and the NBA League, but you mentioned that you do have pro players who obviously have a passion for gaming. For example, I think of on the Heat, you have Myers Leonard, who is a huge gaming fan, loves gaming. I think of Josh Hart as another guy. Do you see those guys in the league that have this passion? Are they beginning to offer assistance? Or I don't know if that's the right word, but are they beginning to, help in ways that they can or collaborate, or what's the scene with that?
This is a tricky question because we can't approach them.
Okay.
But they can approach us about like doing content.
Gotcha. That's kind of like the guidelines for it.
Yeah, so it's a collective bargaining agreement thing. That's protects the NBA players from being used basically.
Right.
We're a new league. It is owned by the NBA, but it also wants to protect the players that's in the NBA.
Right. No, that makes sense. No, and it'll be interesting because you see a lot of pro athletes now in different areas that have the passion, and I think it helps push esports forward. It helps push gaming forward because you see everyone's favorite athlete and they're into it. So it's interesting. And so what about you guys right now with the Heat? Where are you guys at as a team? Kind of what are you guys looking forward to in 2020? I know you have the draft coming up. So kind of what's on your guys' mind at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, this draft is going to be big. We have only have one player on my roster. Each roster is supposed to be 6 players. I have 1 player. I have 5 draft picks this coming draft, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a third-round pick. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I mean, we're looking to get back to the finals. That's the belly of it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have their expectations low. Let's just be able to win a team. Let's just go make the playoffs. No, I want to get back to the finals.
Right.
That taste for that finals was good.
And now you've had it.
Now I've had it.
Now you want to go back.
I want to go back. There's only 4 teams that has made it to the finals in this league so far. It's only been two championships. So it's 23 teams in this league. So we're one of those teams that went when we want to go back.
Right.
So that's our goal right now, to build a winning team that's going to help us get back. Yeah.
And speaking of teams, you guys have 23 teams. Gen G has, not recently, but in the past couple of months, joined with an international team. What do you, as a GM, sitting in the Miami Heat office, how do you think that helps the league? Is that something that excites you? Is the international imprint good for the 2K League? What are your thoughts on that?
It's big.
Yeah.
It's that market alone is a huge market. And Gen G came in, and at first I was like, this is going to be interesting. And as I sat back, I was like, this is going to be interesting. My whole vocal tone changed after thinking about it because we had 2 international tournaments this last couple of months. We had one in Europe, and we had one in it was the Asia Pacific region. And so we picked players from those 2 tournaments to enter our draft pool that's coming up. So the Gen G effect is going to be huge for this league. It's going to grow our league. It's going to grow the fan base, and I'm just looking forward to it. Yeah,
and do you think if we look at traditional sports, there's a different style of play, right? If you're playing not traditional, but if you're playing basketball here in the United States, it might be different from European. Do you think you'll see that in the 2K League, where they'll have a different style of play compared to teams in the U.S., or not with the game, with the way it is?
I actually think those players in the Asia Pacific region are really good. I think they're really good. It's pretty much the same basketball style. Everything in our league is pretty much high pick and roll, and it's certain teams that throw in different wrinkles and different concepts and different things like that. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they implement these players from overseas.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this as your role when you're recruiting, right, for the upcoming draft. What does that look like for you? How do you go about the recruiting process? I don't know if you want to talk about the combine a little bit, how players are coming through, and how there's that pipeline for them.
I'm talking about long hours, man. You're talking about long hours.
Right.
The combine is a 3-week event. Players have to qualify for the combine by, I think this year they had to qualify by winning 50 games, and it had to be 50% win percentage or something to make it to the combine. And as the combine starts, it's certain play windows, like every 3 or 4 hours or something, that you can actually play in the combine. And then you have these windows that's like 2 to 6 a.m. or something like that, or it's something crazy, like 4 to 8 a.m. or something like that. And that's just the benefit of players that's playing overseas, like in Europe and Asia, so they can have particular windows that's at decent times for them. But the North American players are like, I need to get games in too, so they still play on those windows. And my sleep schedule just got fixed this past, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was literally going to bed at like 10 a.m. I was going to sleep at like 10 a.m. for about a month and a half.
Wow.
And so it literally just got fixed. When I'm like, right before the process of us starting to interview players that made our draft pool, I was like, okay, I have to fix my sleep schedule. I had to fix it, and just to be able to interview people at a decent time. But yeah, the combine is an insane process where these players are playing uncomfortable, pretty much. You're playing with 4 other people that you have no idea who they are. Not people that you normally play with, not people that's on your same skill level, and you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
But you have to play together, So it's an awkward feeling for a lot of players. But I always tell everybody, players say the combine is not a good system, this, that, and the third. I always tell them, well, if it's not a good system, then the people that made it last year wouldn't have made it. People who made it before that wouldn't have made it.
Right.
And these are your peers. These are players that you played with, and they made it. So if they can make it, then you can do it,
Right.
So I just try to get that in their mind that, you can't be negative. Like, if you go into this with a negative mindset, then you're going to do terrible at it.
Yeah.
And so that was my main thing, to push the players that just be positive about the situation and just get through it.
Yeah.
You can get through it, and, you're in a draft pool.
Yeah.
Point blank. And now we're in the process of doing interviews with players. So players that made a draft pool, 225 players or something like that made a draft pool, and we have the opportunity as individual teams to contact them and set up interviews with them over Skype or over phone calls or whatever, and just to get a better understanding of those players. I think it's been open since January 20th that we've been able to interview players. I've interviewed 40 players already. And,
wow.
And it's some long days, and it's super tiring. And we just trying to find the best 5 players for our team.
Yeah. Well, something that I think is great about the 2K League is the fact that you guys do have, you could say, a pipeline, right? You have the combine that brings up, there's obviously a lot of long hours on your end, but it's a very thorough process, right? And we were talking earlier how in traditional esports, maybe for other games, it might just be from seeing the competitive online ladder and teams then DM. What do you think for esports to continue to push forward, for it to continue to have more formalization or structure? Do you like the idea of how the NBA has their style, or do you think the other traditional style, or do you think it just depends on the games that you're playing?
I think it depends on the games, to be honest with you. I think this works best for us because we're modeled after the actual NBA, and what the NBA 2K League is trying to do is bring NBA fans over to the NBA 2K League. So say for instance if you like the Miami Heat or whatever, and you have a son, and you want to take your son to the Miami Heat game, you go buy a Bam Adebayo jersey or whatever. In the same store, that would be Heat Check Gaming jerseys in as well. So your son might want a Heat Check Gaming jersey instead of that. That's what they're trying to bridge into. So this aspect that's why we have this process like the combine that's modeled after the NBA. So we can get those traditional fans over because this is similar.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to teach. That's what we're trying to teach traditional fans. This is super similar. It's just digital.
Yeah. And so I just for a couple minutes here, we can talk about just esports rising as a whole. What do you think culturally the impact it has? I know this morning you and I were both at a ribbon cutting for basically a gaming center that was put up for a lower income area. What do you think, or what are some of the advantages that just like traditional sports can provide for communities? How do you think esports also plays into that role?
You like back in the day, like my mom used to always say, go outside, or put me in sports or something like that, And now it's the same concept as back in the day, but it's just video gaming.
Yeah.
That video gaming. I don't think people realize the type of hand-eye coordination that goes into playing video games. I don't think people realize that. So it's a lot of different things.
Right.
It's a lot of different things that's similar as back in the day, but it's just now it's going towards video gaming. And esports is something that's new, so it's going to be it's going to be some backlash for it, of course. But when people start seeing the good aspects of it, they're like, okay. Like I used to always tell my girlfriend when I used to play the game all the time, I'd be like, well, at least I'm not out, at least I'm in the house, where I'm at,
right,
that type of thing, and that's the main thing. Like I'm super safe. Like playing video games is not something that's dangerous at all. Like, we know where you're at all times, and it's a safe haven. A lot of people say you've been not being antisocial. I got to talk to people every day in parties and stuff online. I'm being social. It's just that I'm just not in person. It's things change. Like social media has changed everything. Everything right now is digital and online and everything like that. So that's where more kids and stuff are not. They're not going outside as much. Mm-hmm. But we know where they're at. Yeah. That type of thing. So I love the fact that esports is a thing now. I love the fact that it's getting bigger and bigger, and I see it getting even bigger. Yeah.
No, I think as we continue to put more of a spotlight on it, as the education continues to go out, as more events, you see prize pools continue to rise, you see tournaments starting to increase in number. I think all that'll continue to push the industry forward, and in 5-10 years you really don't know what it's going to look like. So
the checks are going to be big. That's what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Well, we're going to start to wind down. We usually have the Lodgz Light 7, which is 7 questions, kind of wind it down. I kind of wanted to mix it up since we're in Miami alive. I'm just going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
First one is, you've only been here for 2 years. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite food spot in Miami?
Coyo Taco.
Okay.
I love it. Okay. Like that was the first place I ever found. Like when I moved here, they had me in a hotel in Brickell, and Coyo was like the closest thing there. I was like, let me go see what this place is about. I was like, oh, and then I found out they have made one in Coral Gables. Coyo's right there. Like Coyo Taco's my favorite place to eat at.
Nice. What would you say is your favorite place, or you have like a favorite spot in the city that you found, and that's just kind of your favorite spot to go to, or a favorite attraction? Where do you like to spend your downtime if you're gonna go out and do something?
It's gonna sound so weird, but American Airlines Arena.
Really? Okay.
I walk into that arena, I'm like, wow, I'm really here because of video games. It's just one of those things where I'm just astonished every time I walk in there at how far I've came just based off me knowing 2K.
No, you're walking into an arena that has historic moments. So I can imagine that when you walk in there, you just gotta have a moment and be like, wow, I'm here. And then last question, it's Super Bowl weekend. So who's your early pick? Who do you think?
I don't think you can bet against Mahomes right now.
Okay.
Like I like the defense for the 49ers, but Mahomes is so tough. He's a difference maker. So I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, hey, Derek, I appreciate you coming on. For everybody listening, I appreciate you guys tuning in as well. Again, this was episode 28 with Derek Franklin, the GM and head coach of Miami Heat, also known as Famous Enough. Where can people find you on social media?
Everything you Famous Enough. YOU Famous Enough. Everything.